Ego is a beggar for importance. The ego is the poorest thing in existence. It owns nothing, it is nothing. Yet, it must constantly beg for scraps of importance to feel alive. You see, the ego cannot exist without food, and its food is attention, validation, significance, being someone. Without that, it starves. So it stretches its hand out to the world in every conversation, in every ambition, in every relationship, whispering, "Please tell me I matter. Please tell me I exist." The man posts a photo and waits for likes. The woman drops a spiritual quote and waits for reverence. The businessman buys another car, another company, another applause. The monk boasts of his humility. All of them beggars dressed in different robes. Understand something deeply. The ego can never be full. The moment it receives importance, it leaks it out because importance is not real, it is a drug, and the ego is the addict. The truth is terrifying for the ego, it does not exist. That is why it begs, not for importance, but for survival. Importance is merely the oxygen it breathes to keep its illusion alive. When a man truly sees this, not as an idea, but as a living truth, begging ceases. He no longer asks to be seen, to be praised, to be understood. He simply is. And in that being, the beggar dies. What remains is silence, vast, full, unneeding. The ego is not a king. It pretends to be one. It walks with a crown, but its hands are outstretched. It is hungry always, hungry for importance, hungry for being someone. That is why it talks so much. That is why it posts, argues, compares, defends, corrects, and explains. Every word is a coin it rattles in its tin cup. It says, "Please notice me. Please make me real." The ego cannot exist on its own. It has no substance. It is a shadow that needs light from others to even appear. Without attention, without validation, without comparison, it vanishes. So it begs. It begs from lovers, from parents, from crowds, from gods, from success, even from suffering. It will beg for anything that gives it a feeling of being somebody. That is why peace never visits the man who lives through his ego. Because the beggar cannot rest, he must keep collecting. Only when you stop giving it coins, stop feeding it the importance it craves, will you realize something extraordinary, that the one who was begging was never you. Then, when you ask, "Then who I am?" you are already closer than most men will ever come. You see, the one who was begging was the image, the construct, the echo of memory, society, fear, and ambition, a collection of impressions pretending to be you. It is made of words others gave you: name, talent, religion, family, achievements, wounds, all stitched together into a costume that you began to mistake for your skin. But you are not the costume, you are the awareness of it. You are the silence behind the noise, the watcher behind the thoughts, the stillness behind every motion. Before the thought, "I am this" arises, you already are. Before memory, before identity, before desire, you remain. This is why sages say the ego dies before enlightenment, because enlightenment is simply the seeing that there was never anyone there to be enlightened. You are not the beggar, you are not even the king, you are the space in which both appear and disappear. The question, "Who am I?" is not to be answered, it is to be lived. Each time you look inward and every false layer dissolves, what remains is not an answer in words, but a presence. That presence is you. You see, the human being grows up in a world that teaches him everything about himself, except himself. From the moment you are born, you are handed labels. You are Tarun, you are a boy, you are good at this, you should become that, you are better than him, you are worse than her. And so the tapestry begins. Each opinion, each praise, each wound, another thread in the costume. Over the years, this patchwork thickens until it becomes what you call me. The world then interacts only with this costume. It applauds it, insults it, hires it, rejects it, loves it, leaves it. And you, in your innocence, start believing that you are the one being applauded or insulted. But you are not. The world cannot touch you. It can only touch the image you wear, the psychological garment made of thought and memory. That is why the ego feels pain when it is criticized, because it fears that its costume is being torn. It fears nakedness, it fears being seen as nothing, but that nakedness is truth. When you finally stop defending the costume, When you stop trying to adjust, polish, and protect it, you begin to see it. You stand apart from it. Then something profound happens. You realize that there is an awareness that has always been watching, silently, unmoving, untouched. That awareness is the same one that was there when you were a child, and it is still here now. Though the costume has changed 1,000 times, it has no name, no ambition, no history. It does not seek importance, for it is bold. It does not fear loss, for it cannot be lost. When you see this directly, not intellectually, but experientially, you no longer identify with the costume. You still play in the world, you still wear masks when needed, but you never mistake them for your face. This is what liberation means. Not escape from the world, but escape from the illusion of yourself. Tell me, can you sense that silent awareness behind your thoughts right now? The one who reads these words without judging, without naming. That and only that is you. The ego is a phantom. It has no independent existence. It lives only through reference, through comparison, reflection, feedback. When someone praises you, it momentarily feels alive. When someone insults you, it feels wounded. But even in pain, it feels something, and that too becomes proof that it exists. So it feeds on both praise and pain. Anything that reinforces the sense of me. It says, I am successful, I am spiritual, I am suffering, I am misunderstood. It doesn't matter which, as long as the sentence begins with I am. But because this I is made of nothing but thought, it can never stay filled. Every compliment fades, every success decays, every recognition turns stale, and then the addict trembles again. So it goes out into the world to beg for its next hit of importance. Importance is its oxygen, but not your oxygen. You, the real you, the awareness behind all this, need no importance. You exist whether anyone knows your name or not. The ego, however, cannot bear that simplicity. It cannot live in silence because silence exposes its non existence. So it manufactures noise, the noise of ambition, comparison, narrative, anxiety, anything to fill the void where its true being should have been. That's why you see people chase endlessly more money, more knowledge, more recognition, even more spirituality. It is not growth, it is panic. The panic of the ego trying to prove that it's real. And this is the terrible beauty of truth. The ego doesn't die through punishment, it dies through seeing. When you begin to see its desperation, its begging, its trembling, its need to be important, you stop feeding it. You don't fight it, you simply watch. And in that watching, the oxygen runs out. It gasps, it resists, it clings, and then quietly it dissolves. What remains after that is not emptiness, but peace. A peace so whole that it needs nothing to feel whole. Because it is wholeness itself. That, my friend, is you. Without the addict, without the beggar, without the lie. Why the ego begs for importance? Because the ego is not real. Anything unreal must borrow existence from outside. The ego has no life of its own. It is psychological hallucination built from memory. Because it is hollow inside, it constantly searches for something to fill the hollowness. Importance is its oxygen. Because importance temporarily hides its emptiness. When someone praises you, when someone says you matter, when someone admires your achievements, for a moment the ego feels solid. It says, I exist. But this solidity evaporates quickly, so it must search again, like a leaky cup trying to hold water. The ego survives only through comparison. Without comparing itself with others, better, worse, smarter, richer, more spiritual, the ego cannot define itself. Comparison is its bloodstream. Importance is simply the climax of comparison. The ego fears death, not physical death, psychological disappearance. If it stops seeking importance, it feels it will dissolve. And in a way, it's true. The moment you stop feeding it, it collapses. So it begs to stay alive. How the ego begs. The begging is subtle. It happens in everyday moments. Let me show you clearly. It begs through talking, explaining yourself unnecessarily, defending your actions, telling stories to seem interesting, correcting people so you look right. All talk is the ego shaking its tin cup. It begs through posting photos, opinions, achievements, even spiritual wisdom. Anything that says, look at me, see me, approve of me, validation is its food. It begs through reaction. You feel hurt when ignored. You feel tight when criticized. You feel jealous when others succeed. You feel proud when praised. These emotional spikes are the ego screaming for attention. It begs through ambition, not real ambition, egoic ambition, chasing success to feel superior, chasing knowledge to feel special, chasing spirituality to feel enlightened. Even suffering becomes a badge. I am the one who feels deeply. Another form of begging. It begs through identity. I am this kind of person. I am from this family. I have this talent. I have this trauma. Identity is the ego's begging bowl. It begs through relationships, seeking love not to love, but to feel important in someone else's life, to feel needed, to feel chosen. This is the most hidden form of begging. The ego begs because it is nothing, it fears being nothing, so it tries to become something. Importance is the mask it wears to hide its emptiness. But remember, the one who is watching all this, the silent awareness, is not begging, it never has. So, the question every seeker eventually asks, if the ego is the beggar, what is the way out? Let me tell you something plainly, there is no method for truth. Any method you adopt becomes new food for the ego. It will proudly say, I meditate, I am spiritual, I am becoming free. The beggar will simply change clothes. So, what is the way? See the ego directly, without judgment. Not fight, not suppress, just see. See how it reacts when someone ignores you. See how it tightens when someone corrects you. See how it seeks attention, importance, identity. This saying is the solvent. The lie cannot survive under direct observation. Refuse to give it coins. Each time the ego rises, asking to defend itself, explain itself, be admired, you simply don't feed it. You stay silent inside. You do nothing. This is not repression. This is starvation. A hungry illusion collapses on its own. Return to the watcher. Behind every thought of I, there is a witness. It is silent. It is not begging. It has no story. Rest there. Not through effort, through noticing. Let the world run without you trying to be somebody in it. This is the hardest part because the ego believes if I don't intervene, I will disappear. And the truth is, yes, the ego will disappear. You will not. Understand deeply, there is no price for being important. Once you truly see the emptiness of importance, the addiction dissolves. Importance is a toy given to children. A wise man no longer plays with toys. Stay with what is real, silence, clarity, presence. Not mystical silence, simple, alert stillness. The space in which everything comes and goes. That space is untouched by ego, untouched by praise or insult. Do not try to destroy the ego. The one who wants to destroy it is the ego. Let it bear itself out. Let it beg. Just don't give it coins. Freedom is not an achievement. It is what remains when the beggar is no longer fed. And then unexpectedly, effortlessly, the man discovers he was never the beggar, never the crown, never the hungry mouth. He was the sky in which all of it floated. So, the ego is a beggar because it has no ground of its own. It survives only by collecting fragments of importance from the world: attention, validation, praise, comparison, identity. Its hunger is endless because its existence is false. A false thing must keep proving itself. A real thing needs no proof. The begging stops not by force, not by discipline, not by spirituality, but by seeing. Seeing the ego beg is the end of its power. When you stop feeding its coin of importance, when you stop responding to its cries, when you no longer chase being somebody, the beggar starves and disappears. What remains is not emptiness, but the one who was always there, silent, bold, unafraid, unborn, unimportant, and therefore free. That is the real you.